So, uh, I want you to imagine you're holding a completely full, like sealed bottle of water.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And that water represents every single minute you have available to you today. Now imagine uncapping it, turning it upside down, and just pouring it directly onto the floor.
Oof, just right onto the carpet.
Right onto the carpet. You watch it soak in until the bottle is completely empty. And I mean, you can't scoop that water back up.
No, obviously not.
You can't drink it later.
Right.
It is just permanently, irrevocably gone.
It's a painfully stark visualization. And yet, we do exactly that with our hours, usually without even registering it, you
You
know?
really do.
We sit down on the couch to unwind for just like 5 short minutes, and suddenly we're staring at an empty bottle, wondering where the entire evening went.
Yeah, which is exactly why we're doing this today. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're pulling from a really unexpected source. We were actually looking at the transcripts from an English learning conversational series.
Right, which sounds incredibly niche, but beneath the surface of the language lesson is this surprisingly sophisticated masterclass on the psychology of time.
Exactly. The mission of this deep dive is universal. We are unpacking the daily habits that cause our time to quietly evaporate,
Mm.
and we are going to extract a practical toolkit to actually achieve the things we constantly, push to tomorrow.
Which is a crucial mission because this isn't about traditional productivity hacks.
Right, no toxic hustle culture.
Exactly. Or finding ways to squeeze more grueling labor out of yourself. It's about intentionality. It's about spotting those invisible leaks where the water is dripping out so you can finally bridge the gap between the person you intend to be in your head and the actions you actually take on a random Tuesday.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Mhm.
To stop those invisible leaks, we have to look at why we uncorked the bottle in the first place.
Right.
The sources point to a very specific universal cocktail for failure: a tired brain combined with incredibly vague ambitions.
Yeah, there's a story in the text that honestly feels almost like a personal attack.
Oh, the 10-minute break one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone is working at their computer, their brain gets foggy, so they decide to take a quote unquote harmless 10-minute break on the sofa.
They open their phone.
They open their phone, watch a funny video. The platform's algorithm notes they laughed, immediately serves up another one, and they tell themselves the most famous lie in modern history.
Oh, just one more.
The single most dangerous phrase to human focus. Just one more.
And then the physical reality sets in, right? They feel their neck get stiff. They finally check the clock, and an hour and 15 minutes have completely vanished.
Just gone.
But the tragedy isn't just the lost time. It's the emotional aftermath. They don't feel rested or rejuvenated. They feel hollow, guilty, and actually like more exhausted than before they took the break.
Because the tighter they try to hold on to that mental break, the faster it slipped through their fingers.
Right. But if the core problem is that we lose our grip when we're tired, I mean, traditional self-help advice always tells us the solution is to set massive goals. If I want to stop wasting time on my phone, shouldn't my goal for the day be something huge, like I will overhaul my entire daily routine today?
See, that instinct to go big is precisely the trap. What's fascinating here is how the source material flips that traditional advice completely on its head.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they advocate for what they call a tiny plan. And they explain the mechanism using the analogy of a car's GPS.
Like typing in an address.
Right, if you get into your car and just start driving.
Without putting a destination in the navigation.
Exactly. The car doesn't magically guide you to a useful destination. You burn petrol, you exhaust yourself navigating traffic, and you end up nowhere.
So waking up and telling myself I'm going to work on my side business today is essentially driving without an address.
It's far too vague. And neurologically, vague goals are actually perceived by your brain as a threat.
Wait, a threat? Really?
Yes. When you give your brain a directive like, improve yourself today or study for a solid hour, your brain instantly calculates the massive upfront caloric energy required to figure out how to do that. Wow.
It triggers a severe form of choice paralysis. Your amygdala perceives this undefined massive task as overwhelming. So your executive function shuts down and looks for the nearest, easiest escape route.
Which is usually back to the sofa to let an algorithm feed you videos.
Precisely.
That perfectly explains why committing to a massive hour-long gym session always ends up with me skipping days entirely. The mental friction is just too high to even start.
But a tiny plan deliberately bypasses that threat response.
Because it's small.
Right. If your GPS address is incredibly specific and microscopic, like, I will learn 3 new vocabulary words, or I will read one single page of this book, the brain doesn't panic.
The caloric cost to execute that is like practically zero.
Exactly. You eliminate the choice paralysis. It guarantees you arrive at the destination, which triggers a small hit of dopamine.
And that makes you feel proud.
And that pride is the actual fuel you need to repeat the habit the next day.
I buy the logic of the tiny plan. Bypassing the brain's threat response makes total sense.
It lowers the stakes. But practically speaking, I still run into a logistical wall here. Even if my goal is just to read one single page, I look at my schedule for the day, see back-to-back commitments, and think,
I don't have time.
right, I think I don't have a solid 30-minute block of quiet time to sit down and focus, so I'll just do it tomorrow. I find myself completely trapped in the illusion that I need pristine, uninterrupted time to get anything done.
We constantly wait for the perfect conditions. And that is a structural flaw in how we view our days, because perfect conditions simply do not exist in adulthood.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this makes me think about how we value our hours. The source compares time to currency, but I think we take it a step further to our own detriment.
How do you mean?
We treat our time exactly the way we treat physical cash. We obsess over the big bills.
Oh, like the 2-hour blocks?
Yes. If you had a crisp $100 bill in your wallet,
Yeah.
representing like a rare 2-hour block of free time on a Saturday, you wouldn't just throw it in the gutter. You guard it fiercely. But our small change, the nickels and dimes of our day, we literally toss those straight into the trash.
We really do.
We take those 3, 5, or 7-minute increments between meetings or chores, and we burn them by mindlessly scrolling because we assume they aren't worth anything.
The source explicitly defines that spare change as pocket time.
Pocket time. I like that.
And the core insight is that if you actively aggregate those scattered, seemingly worthless coins, you can buy something massive over the long haul.
Right.
There's this grounding case study in the text about a mother trying to learn new language. She worked full-time and had 2 young children.
So if anyone had a legitimate right to claim they had 0 free time, it was her.
Absolutely. She literally never experienced a full, uninterrupted hour to herself.
Which completely changes the definition of free time. Because if she's waiting for a $100 bill to magically appear in her schedule, she's never going to learn the language.
She'll be waiting for years.
Exactly.
So she weaponized her pocket time. She utilized 5 minutes while walking from her office to the bus stop. She claimed 10 minutes during the chaotic transition of her lunch break.
Just grabbing time wherever she could.
And 7 minutes right before her eyes closed at night in bed. Instead of throwing those tiny coins away because the cognitive switching cost felt like a hassle, she invested them in her tiny plan.
I've always viewed waiting for the bus or like standing in line for coffee as dead space. Just annoying friction in my day.
Most people do.
But she essentially turned it into an asset. It completely removes the excuse of being too busy, because I definitely don't have an extra hour today, but I always have 5 minutes while I'm waiting for the water to boil for pasta.
Exactly. The text gives other highly realistic examples too. Reviewing a single note card while sitting in the back of a taxi.
Or listening to a 3-minute audio clip while aggressively washing the dishes.
It fundamentally alters your relationship with waiting. A delay at the doctor's office or a long line at the grocery store is no longer an annoyance. It's an unexpected deposit of pocket time.
But there's a catch, right?
A vital catch. You have to know exactly what your tiny plan is beforehand, or you will default right back to throwing those coins away on your phone.
That brings up a critical hurdle for me. If I have my tiny GPS plan and I am aggressively hunting for 5-minute pockets of time while I wait for my coffee, how do I sustain that?
That's the real challenge.
Because, frankly, optimizing every spare second of my life sounds like a fast track to absolute exhaustion. My brain is eventually going to rebel against that level of constant, rigid discipline.
That rebellion is mathematically guaranteed if the process feels like a punishment. Motivation fueled purely by white-knuckling and sheer willpower has a very short expiration date.
It's like taking a kid out to the park to play a game, but instead of actually letting them play, you stand over them with a clipboard and a stopwatch and shout, "Play perfectly. Don't waste a single second."
The child is just going to start crying and refuse to ever play that game again.
We do that to ourselves when we make learning or personal goals this heavy, serious burden. The source details how vital it is to gamify the process so your brain actually wants to engage.
Give me an example from the source.
For language learning, they suggest printing out song lyrics to sing in the shower to mimic the pronunciation,
Oh, that's fun.
or putting on a short comedy series with subtitles and actively waiting for that one small victory where you suddenly understand a joke without having to read the text.
Joyful, active engagement. It's the only sustainable shield against what the source calls time thieves.
Time thieves. Yeah, they are incredibly predatory in how they operate.
They are. The text has a terrifyingly accurate breakdown of how a time thief works.
Oh, the story about sitting on the bed.
Yes. The speaker sits on the edge of their bed, intending to do one hyper-specific thing, reply to a single message from a friend,
But replying to the message opens the app.
which autoplays a funny clip.
And that clip has a controversial comment under it.
So they get sucked into reading a massive vitriolic argument between two total strangers.
Which triggers their anxiety, leading them to doom scroll through random, stressful news stories for 40 minutes.
Look at the cognitive math of that interaction. The speaker notes, "My brain was full, but I didn't learn anything."
That is the precise signature of a time thief.
It hijacks your attention, maxes out your cognitive bandwidth processing useless information, gives you zero return on investment, and leaves you emotionally depleted.
So if these time thieves are hijacking our dopamine pathways, my first instinct is that I just need to be more disciplined,
To just try harder.
Yeah, I need to build up my willpower so I can hold my phone to send a message without getting sucked into the comment section.
That is the logical assumption most of us make, but the source explicitly warns against relying on willpower to save you.
Why not?
Willpower is a finite biological resource. By 8 p.m., your willpower tank is running on fumes. Instead, they outline the necessity of setting up small rules, which is really about environmental design.
Okay, so manipulating your surroundings.
Exactly. You manipulate your physical surroundings so you never need to use willpower in the first place.
Like physically leaving the phone in another room while executing the tiny plan.
Yes. Or establishing a non-negotiable rule that you only get to open social media after you've read your one page.
Or turning off all non-essential notifications for a specific 1-hour window.
The analogy they use is locking the door of your house. You might not necessarily hate the thief outside, but you don't leave your front door wide open with your valuables sitting on the table, expecting the thief to just politely walk away out of respect.
You lock the door.
You lock the door.
I understand locking the door and protecting my mental real estate, but I have to challenge the overarching philosophy we are building here.
Bring it on.
We're talking about guarding our focus, executing tiny plans, and squeezing productivity out of every single 5-minute pocket of time we can find. If we take this to its logical conclusion, does the mandate, "don't waste your time," secretly just mean we are expected to be constantly grinding, learning, and producing every single waking minute of the day?
I see where you're going.
Because that sounds an awful lot like toxic hustle culture wearing a different mask.
I am incredibly glad you brought this up. It is so easy to misinterpret this framework as a mandate to never stop working.
Right.
But the answer is an emphatic, categorical no. The source material explicitly warns against that exact trap.
Oh, good.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we can look at the analogy of a smartphone battery, but with a critical, nuanced battery degradation.
Okay, let's unpack battery degradation.
If you use your phone constantly, running incredibly intensive apps with the screen on full brightness, and you only ever plug it into the wall for 5 minutes here or there while you're still actively using it.
The battery gets wrecked.
Right. The battery doesn't just die in the short term. Over time, the maximum capacity of that battery physically degrades. Eventually, even when the screen says 100%, it only holds half the charge it used to.
Wow.
Humans operate on the exact same mechanism. Chronic burnout isn't just being tired, it's the degradation of your maximum cognitive capacity.
So true rest, good sleep, quiet time, Sitting on a porch, doing absolutely nothing is not a waste of time.
It is the biological requirement to maintain your hardware.
So rest isn't a reward you get for productivity, it's the prerequisite for it.
The source shares an anecdote that illustrates the difference between mindless grinding and actual effectiveness perfectly.
The late night project one.
Yes.
Yeah.
The speaker describes trying to push through a project late at night. They were completely exhausted. Their battery was in the red. But they forced themselves to keep working for 2 solid hours out of some misplaced sense of discipline.
And the work they produced was abysmal. It was full of structural errors.
Because their battery's maximum capacity was functionally at 0, their executive function was completely offline.
Right.
They finally surrendered, went to sleep, and let the biological system recharge. The next morning, they tackled the exact same task.
And it took them only 30 minutes.
30 minutes. And the quality of the work was flawless. They achieved vastly superior results in a quarter of the time simply because they actually had the neurological energy to apply focus.
So the ultimate goal of managing your time isn't to exist in a state of frantic perpetual motion.
The goal is friction-free balance.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? How do you take this from an abstract psychological concept to something you actually execute today?
Let's distill it down.
We can distill everything from these sources down into 4 rapid-fire steps. Step 1, choose your tiny goal.
Put a specific, hyper-realistic address into your GPS so your brain doesn't panic. Not, I will change my career, but I will read 1 article.
Perfect. Step 2, hunt for your pocket time. Stop waiting for a magical 60-minute window of silence to appear.
Weaponize the 5 minutes you spend waiting for the bus.
Yes. Step 3, make it a game. Ensure the process doesn't feel like a punishment.
So your brain actually wants to engage.
And step 4, which is arguably the glue holding the entire system together, be your own coach, not your own warden. When you finish that tiny plan, actually pause and acknowledge the victory.
That brief moment of positive reinforcement is the exact chemical mechanism that wires the habit into your brain so you naturally want to do it again tomorrow.
And I want to say this directly to you. You didn't just spend the last 15 minutes wandering aimlessly on your phone.
Nope.
You didn't uncork the bottle and pour this water on the floor.
Yeah.
You just actively invested your time in understanding your own behaviors.
And that is exactly how you start reclaiming your days.
It really is.
Which brings me to a final, somewhat uncomfortable question that I want to leave you to mull over.
Oh, laying it on heavy at the end.
Always. The source material asks learners to identify what specifically wastes their time. But if we dig a layer deeper, if you look closely at exactly which time thieves you surrender to most easily, whether it's getting hypnotized by endless comedy clips, getting drawn into combative comment sections, or endlessly scrolling through anxiety-inducing news.
What does the specific flavor of those distractions reveal?
Exactly. What might they reveal about what you are actually trying to escape from in your daily life?
Wow. Are you seeking mindless comfort, or are you actively seeking conflict on a screen to avoid confronting a conflict in your own reality?
The spilled water on the floor isn't just an accident. If you look closely, the puddle is a mirror.
A mirror showing you what actually needs fixing. That is something to sit with. Thank you for diving into the depths with us today. Keep protecting those small coins of time, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.